Hello, this is Marwan.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here to talk about the networks of communication exchange in China and the effects of it during the classical era. During the classical era, trade exploded as many trade routes were created, allowing goods to travel to distant lands. This was a very safe option before, as there was many pirates and thieves that raided and looted many merchants, leaving them, with nothing. But large empires expanded borders to protect the people, allowing for more distance to be made.
Long distance travel affected every part of the world, spreading through land and sea, and China was no exception. Merchants took advantage of this and bought and sold foreign goods for a profit, and spread many other things such as goods along the way like ideas, culture, religion, and diseases. China was one of the more independent areas of the world as they had most of the things that they already needed there. This created a favorable balance of trade, and where they export more than they import. This means that everything they imported other than money was wanted and not really needed.
China's involvement was one of the central reasons why the Silk Road worked, because the whole name of the Silk Road sourced from China, as they were the only source of silk in the world at the time. So silk was a common commodity across the Eurasia, and it was so important that the Silk Road was in the Han capital of Chang'an.
Although sometimes it seemed independent, they still wanted something that they lacked. And the Hans used many trade routes, both sea and land, to achieve what they wanted.
One of the main ways China imported their goods was through the Silk Road. The Han gained horses from the nomadic people, as their own horses were weak and fragile. But in return they sent grains, alcohol, and silk.
Another trade system that China had benefited directly from was the Indian Ocean trade. It was over water, and China received paper, cotton textiles, and dye from the trade.
Many religions were benefiting from the Silk Road like Hinduism. While Hinduism dominated many areas in Asia, it never got as popular in China as Buddhism did.
Buddhism was slowing down in India, but thanks to spreading merchants, Buddhism traveled from China and became a prominent religion. The way they did this was through funding the monasteries, which the merchants frequently visited. As the merchants came to China, slowly accustomed to
The Buddhism in China conflicted directly with the previous Confucianism notions of relationships. The life of a monk and the requirements of filial piety couldn't be done at the same time, so it's syncretized. This cultural diffusion created a blend of Chinese culture and Buddhism. As many of these different types of areas never interacted so closely before, they haven't been very exposed to each other due to the limitations of Asian societies. This previous lack of communication and trading allowed for serious disease epidemics to start.
The disease smallpox specifically devastated China as they made contact with the Hans in 250 BCE. Smallpox came from Romans through the Silk Road and destroyed half of the population in northern China. This brought social and economic change.
Smallpox crippled the Han Dynasty even after this fall. Another epidemic came. Bubonic plague came from all the way from Constantinople to China. With fewer people alive, fewer soldiers are called for military service, and less peasants to do the basic functions of an empire. There was also not enough people to keep up with the agriculture, so food surpluses also dropped.
Less people equals less food, equals less trade, equals less money, equals ultimately an unstable economy. So to create an image, imagine the Great Depression and then half the population dead. It pretty much sucked. It was really, really bad.
The effects were so severe for China, the Hans lost control over their empire and it broke apart, creating 3 new states, which led China into a whole other time of chaos and disorder.
There were many advancements that were spread thanks to the trade system like horse stirrup. The stirrups allowed for a greater control and combined with new style increased the ability to trade. This was important as horse was the fastest method of transportation at the time.
The stirrup and saddle. Back then it would be like creating a stronger engine and softer pads on the fastest car in the world. This revolutionized the transportation of the classical world as it increased the control and comfortability of horses.
The Connaught system was created to solve water scarcity. The Connaught system used hydraulic and gravitational force to transfer water and allowed plants to gain even more water for irrigation. This method was spread from Iran to China, assisting in the food production.
A maritime trade invention was the lateen sail. This vessel was created to adapt to the monsoons in the Indian Ocean trade area. This allowed heavy items to be traded across the Indian Ocean, which couldn't go over land.
During classical times, many large empires had massive trade systems and exchange systems where items and goods were sent to China. But products were not the only things sent. Ideas, religion, culture, disease were also attached.
These trans-regional networks had large impacts on every empire, including China, both good and bad. This is it for our effects of trade in China. See you in our next video.